Welcome back to Unleashed, the most legit Celtics podcast in the game. Yes, usually we start with the pumped in crowd noise, but not this episode. We have another, negative episode. And when I say negative episode, I'm really saying just like an episode where we keep it real. Like the whole point of this podcast, Unleashed, is to be able to talk about this team unfiltered and just with no BS involved, no trying to please anybody, just give you my takes, let you guys talk about it on the voicemail line as well. So when I say negative episode, I'm just keeping it real, and if we're keeping it real, this team has been dog you know what lately. So we'll get into all that on episode 101 of Unleashed. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and hit that like button. And also turn on post notifications so you get notified when we drop an episode of this podcast or we go live for pregame shows. I know Jack, Kenny, Sam, and Tim do a really good job on that pregame show. And then you can catch me after every single Celtics game as well on the YouTube channel. So consider heading over there and subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button, and then turning on the bell notifications. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, you don't want the video, I hear you. You don't want to see this ugly mug, but make sure you're subscribed there or following along. Let's just jump right into it. So the agenda today is I'm going to give you, I guess, my overall take on where we stand with this team. You know, is it time to hit the panic button? Are they even contenders? Can we even lie to ourselves and say they're contenders at this point? We'll talk about that. And then we're going to play some voicemails and react to those. We have a handful of them. So, yeah, we'll get right into it. If you do want to leave a voicemail for future episodes, make sure you're dialing the number 617-302-6363. That's the direct Unleashed line, and we play all voicemails. So even if you're listening to this and you want to rag on me or say I'm a loser, what else have we gotten over the years of doing this podcast? I don't know. We even play the shit talk. That's what I'm saying. So if you want to really take time out of your day to call in and shit on the show, shit on me, 617-302-6363. I encourage it, because if you do that, you're a loser. But let's jump right into my take, I guess, on this team. So I mentioned, is it time to hit the panic button, or are they contenders? It's not time to hit the panic button. We'll start there, and I'll let you know why. Because there's still the wild card of, could Danny Ainge trade for somebody? That's preventing me from ever being like, okay, you know what? It's panic button time. The minute the trade deadline passes or the window to sign anyone comes and goes, and this team is what we have right now come playoff time or anything like that, then, you know, it's I wouldn't say panic button, but I would say, you know, press the chalk the season button, if that makes sense. So once all the cards have been played, and even a card that we can throw in there is this team being fully healthy for once, right? Once all that happens and we still seem to be a 500 team, lose to bad teams, beat a good team here and there, that type of thing, then we can say, okay, chalk this season, let's move forward to next year. But I'm not hitting the panic button or the reset button or the chalk the season button until we still have some cards to play. So until all of a sudden that trade deadline passes or the window to sign anyone is over, I'm not giving up hope on this team, because I'm not one of the people that think a blockbuster trade is what this team needs. Now, I do think that would help, but in terms of needing it, I think you have your core. I think you have your young guys. What they need is some bench players, some guys that have experience, some guys that can really help this team that wouldn't cost a whole hell of a lot to go and get. Would I love to go out and get a superstar to add to the Jays? Yeah, sure. But I don't think you rush into doing that. You do have more than just this season to use the TPE. So if we're talking about any sort of superstars or anyone using up that TPE all as one whole, I don't think you need a rush to do it. I will say, you know, there should be some sort of an emphasis or prioritization on getting a guy like JJ Redick, PJ Tucker. I think Eric Gordon's been floated out there, Mason Plumlee. Like, all these names are, I feel, so realistic and so gettable, and you wouldn't have to give up a crap load to get them. You'd have to use some of the TPE, but fine. Those are the type of pieces I think that could immediately make an impact. And now I know there's two types of people. Do you want to win now, or are you also going to say, okay, you know what? They don't need to win now. It would be nice. It's Boston. We have those expectations. But the Jays are technically 3 to 4 years away from their prime. Like, we do have time, right? So there is, you know, that's a valid hill to die on. And I'm partially on that hill too. Like, they don't need a trade. But with the expectations of the fans, with trying to keep Jason and Jalen, you know, content and happy here, I think you have to show effort that you're going to try and build no matter what time frame they are in their career. If Danny Ainge does nothing at the deadline, I think it's pretty much saying, hey, forget about this season, there's always next year. And even though Jason Tatum's young, even though Jaylen Brown's young, you're still telling them, hey, guys, this year you're not good enough. We're not going to do anything this year. And, just work on it in the offseason. If I'm Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown hearing that or seeing that from my GM, I'm thinking, come on, man. Like, I know we're young, but we're good enough to be a 1-2 on a team right now, and they are. We're good enough right now. You can't just give us something. And that something is where I come in and say it doesn't have to be a superstar. It doesn't have to be Karl-Anthony Towns, Bradley Beal, or a couple guys that are just below them tier-wise. You go and do something that could consist of J.J. Redick, P.J. Tucker, Eric Gordon, Miles Plumlee. And those are just a few names that come to mind. So it's like you don't have to go out there and throw it all on the line to show Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown that, hey, one, we want to build around you, and then two, show the fans, the organization, everyone that, hey, yeah, we are trying this season. So until all of that is gone in the wind, and this is the team that we have going forward for the rest of the year, I'm holding out hope for this team that they can still be, what we wanted them to be heading into the year. But right now, they're a 500 basketball club. They're losing to terrible teams. They're getting smacked by terrible teams. They didn't even score 90, or they didn't even score 100 points against the Wizards. The Wizards, who literally let up, I think if I did the math before this episode, 311 points per game. And the Celtics couldn't score 100. I know. Guys didn't come to play. Guys didn't play due to injury. I get all that. But at the same time, us Celtics fans can't have it both ways. If you have Jason and Jaylen both playing, we've said it multiple times before, they're good enough to be a 1-2 on a team. As long as those two guys are playing, forget Kemba, forget Smart. As long as those two guys are playing, in my opinion, it's good enough to beat the team that's close to being ranked last in the NBA. But we're not talking specifically about that. Again, we're not talking specifically about games on this podcast. If you do want my after-game reaction, make sure to head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, because we go live after every single Celtics game, win or loss, happy or mad, laughing with joy or crying of sadness. We are there live reacting to the game. So that's the first part. Panic button, chalk button, whatever. Are they true contenders? I think I kind of answered this already, but I am going to throw this in as its own little segment here because I want to make it clear. This team, as it is right now and as it's constructed, is not a championship team. Even healthy with Marcus Smart and Kemba Walker and even Jaylen Brown's injuries aside, in a vacuum, this team is super healthy. They're not a contender. I'm sorry to say it, they're not. Why is that? Well, one, their bench is their bench. The only thing to compare it to right now is literally their bench, and it stinks. It stinks. We've been bamboozled and fooled by guys like Grant Williams, Semi Ojeleye, and, those are two huge names that we're supposed to rely on that have been really, really inconsistent. And then you throw in a name like Pritchard, who has been really, really good this year, but the minute you have to rely on a rookie, and I'm sorry if this is like a broken record for some of you guys because I say it all the time in the podcast and the streams, the minute you have to rely on a rookie, you're setting yourself up for failure, no matter how good that rookie is. There's limitations that come with being a rookie, and the minute a team says, okay, you know what, our season pretty much lives or dies on a rookie, especially, a late round pick like, or a late pick in the first round like Peyton Pritchard, you're setting yourself up for failure. No matter how good he's been, he's going to have off nights, which we've seen a couple as of late. This team, this bench, I should say specifically, just ain't it. And then we have, Jeff Teague, who absolutely hustled us into thinking that he's going to be good this year. I thought he was really going to be helpful for this team. No. The guy literally is a wet towel out there. I've never seen someone get the ball, and if you haven't noticed this, you'll notice it after I say this. I've never seen someone get the ball like him and just waste shot clock. He is the king of give me the ball. I'm going to do nothing with it. I'm not going to even make progress towards the basket. Hell, I'm not even going to try and set anything up for anyone else. I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to pass. All I'm going to do is dribble, and then with like 0.6 seconds left in the shot clock, I'm going to pass to like Grant Williams or someone for a 50-foot three-point shot. Jeff Teague bamboozled us. He is as close to a waste of a body out there as you can get. Now, can he turn it around? The only bit of hope I have there is that he's a veteran as it maybe gets late in the year as games matter more. He's been there before, but we haven't seen anything really to tell us that that's going to happen. So I am willing to chalk Jeff Teague this season. Tristan Thompson's another name that I think has underwhelmed people, but I'm on the side that Tristan Thompson has done his job. He's not that expensive. He's a rebounder. Like, what did people think? He was going to come here and score 20 points? How can you be upset with what you're getting out of Tristan Thompson right now if he's literally doing what you thought he was going to do? So I'm not on the Tristan Thompson hate wagon. I think he's the only sort of addition or new face that I can say, I'm pretty thrilled with. But yeah, this bench is going to be the downfall of this team. And it's funny because over and over, I've said over the years saying, a bench doesn't matter in the playoffs. And I don't think it does. I think you can go 7 deep in the playoffs and be good to go. The thing is, the Celtics can realistically only go like maybe 5 deep. And that's me including a bench player like Marcus Smart or, whoever comes from that starting lineup and goes and sits on the bench. It's like Daniel Tice, Tristan Thompson, these names that should be sort of 6th, 7th man. Any given night, these guys are starting. So the Celtics can go, I'll be nice here and say they really can only go 6 deep in terms of being really strong. That's so much different than a playoff team going, 7 or 8 deep and that feeling like a limited rotation. The Celtics could get whooped if they try to go 8 deep. If they try to go 8 deep, you're bringing in, Grant Williams, Jeff Teague, Semi Ojeleye. Those guys are not 8th men on championship teams. I don't care if you're a Grant Williams lover. I know we have a voicemail, so shout out to Jack. I know we have a voicemail talking about him. I don't care if you're a voicemail lover. I don't care if you're a Grant Williams lover. That's because you see the positive side of him. Anything you've seen this year tells you that guy isn't ready to be a crucial player on a championship team. And if you do, and if you have seen consistency out of Grant Williams, I need to know what Celtics games you guys have watched. Because he has been a guy that, opens eyes sometimes and makes you think, okay, he's good to go, and then stinks so much that he gets pulled in like the second quarter the next game and doesn't see the floor even the game following. He's been super, super inconsistent. Same with Semi Ojeleye. He's fooling us with 24-point nights. He's hitting his threes sometimes, and all of a sudden he goes like 0 of a million for a 3 in one game, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, back to square one with Semi. We can't trust him out there. And again, just compared to some of these benches around the league, if everyone's bench was this bad, the Celtics would be pretty damn good because 1 through 6, they can hang. But the minute you bring 7th, 8th, 9th man into it, you're in trouble. And I think, given the Celtics injury history. Let's talk here. How about another soundboard? No? Injury history. Oh, now it's going to play. Can't even control my soundboard. That's how desperate we are with this team. But given their injury history and given the fact that, they have some guys that are not even consistent. Like even at this point, Kemba Walker hasn't been consistent. So injury and consistency are going to show exactly why this team has so many flaws when it comes down to it, when they face a team that's actually really, really complete. So with that being said, let's get into a couple voicemails here. Let me throw on the headphones. Let's get into a couple voicemails. I really don't know what to expect here. I listened to one of them, and it was coming in from Jack. I know he's a Grant Williams lover, and let's just play the voicemail and see what we got here.
Hey, it's Jack from Bannertown. Are the Celtics title contenders? As long as Grant Williams is on the team, you know my thoughts. Love the show. Appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
I hope, Jack, in your love of Grant Williams, it has to be, and I've heard you say multiple times, like what you think he can be. Your love of Grant Williams, or anyone's love of Grant Williams at this point, has to be based on what you want Grant Williams to be moving forward. Not what he is and not what he's shown. Because even if you've seen flashes of it, that attributes towards what you want him to be, because he's not that guy consistently, no matter how you look at it. But yeah, I don't think that's a legitimate answer to are they title contender, because again, you know what? Actually, let me do this. This is just me thinking right now. To be honest, if Grant Williams turns into what he's supposed to be, that could make the Celtics an Eastern Conference Finals contender. Because that's one of the crucial bench guys that if he was consistent and he was ready to go every given night, then it would take this bench and turn him up a level, because he's starting to shoot the ball well. He can, I can't believe I'm saying this, he can cover like 1 through 4, even though his defense has been god-awful in the open space this year. If Grant Williams is what he's supposed to be, he can be an actual 3-and-D sort of small ball big man. But I don't think he's going to be, so I take all that back. More voicemails.
This is Theo from Houston, long time Boston Celtics fan. My boys don't have what it takes this year. I don't think Brad Stevens is able to use the best of his talent. We don't have it this year. Maybe in the next year or two, but not this year.
Theo calls in from Houston. You can hear the the like disappointment in his voice. And he brings up Brad Stevens, who I haven't even talked about yet. Haven't even talked about Brad Stevens yet. But this year, I think I'm aligned on the Brad Stevens isn't getting the most out of his talent. The one way to defend him, and I'm not going to go on a whole Brad Stevens rant here, the one way to defend him is he doesn't have the most talent to work with. So, without making this whole episode about Brad Stevens, because, you know, if you're a fan of mine or been following for a while, you do know I have my critiques of Brad Stevens, but I'm not ready to fire Brad Stevens, not one bit. I just want him to improve with the team, and he hasn't done that. But I think I think he's Theo I might be aligning with here. You know, in the next year or two, I think that guys on this team get better. Hopefully, you have the opportunity to make moves, but for some reason, I just have this gut feeling that Danny Ainge is going to come in and, you know, I'll be all smoke, no fire at the deadline. Am I wrong? I sure as hell hope so. All right, let's get to another voicemail here.
Hey, man, my name is Ryan from Boston, and just responding to if the Celtics are a contender this year, I'd have to say probably not. It depends on Kemba. He looks so small when he's driving to the rim. Every single time he goes.
I'm going to stop it just real quick. It's not a bad point to say it depends on Kemba. I know I'm talking about the bench and how big of an issue that is, but it really does depend on Kemba too, because I'm assuming Kemba's going to be good to go. I'm assuming Kemba's going to be consistent by the end of the year. We haven't necessarily seen that yet. So to the point here, I believe you said your name's Ryan. To that point, it does live and die on Kemba before we even consider the bench being an issue or, you know, a positive. So good call there.
It either gets blocked or it goes straight off the backboard. I hope he gets back to his Charlotte days. You know, we've been waiting to see that Kemba. I just don't see the Celtics having enough depth. I think we gotta flip a few of our players, even if that means trading Marcus. I think we gotta do it. The time is now to make a trade. Right.
Sorry, I'm slicing up this voicemail and responding to parts of it, but it is a lot to unpack here. Marcus Smart, I think, is tradable depending on the deal. Keep in mind, I don't think it's any secret that Marcus Smart and him being out, coincidence here. I think not, that this team started playing terrible, terrible basketball. So we got to give Marcus Smart the value and the importance nod, because it's been pretty damn clear to me with him out for an extended period of time, all of a sudden the Celtics start to slip and slide. So keep that in mind. But is he untouchable? Is he truly an untouchable player on this team? That's probably a 50-50 response, and I would say in this very moment, there's probably clips of me on this show or on the post-game show saying the opposite. But right now, I think this team needs a move so badly that I would be willing to say I wouldn't let Marcus Smart stop you from going out and getting someone that's going to be really, really good for this team.
Be nice. I don't think we're contenders this year, though. I think we're a few pieces away. I really do think that Jalen and Jason could lead us there, but we definitely need we got 5 guards in the squad. We got Waters, we have Kemba, Peyton Pritchard.
Very small. No one above this team is no one on this team is above
Edwards,
6'8".
Is
that right?
And Teague. That's 5 of our guards that are undersized for the NBA level. We have undersized,
most of which can't even play.
And at this point, it seems like our wing depth is minimal too. Like, our best player coming off the bench is usually Marcus, but with all the injuries, he's starting. So, if the best players coming off the bench is Teague, Edwards, and Ojale, and Robert Williams, that we have probably have the worst bench in the league, honestly. So I'd probably say that we're probably a first round exit. Diehard Celtics fan, you already know.
Before he keeps going, it's a long voicemail. First round exit is totally, and this is such a wussy way to answer this, it's totally based on who they end up playing. I know that that's no kidding, Ev, but it is true. I'm thinking Heat, Pacers, some other playoff teams here. They can beat these teams. I'm not worried about that. But when you get to the second, and when you get past the first round, and you have a possible, Sixers, Bucks, Nets, it's got to come to one of them, right? So I don't know about first round exit because it's so dependent on the matchup. But again, they could be playing one of those teams I just mentioned in the first round too. if they keep sliding. So it's totally dependent on the matchup. I know it's kind of a wuss way to answer it, but it's true. I'm not ready to say the talent on this team is a first-round exit because they're better than a lot of these teams down the bottom of the Eastern Conference. And even though they've been playing poorly, I do think that they're better than that. So let's keep going.
Hey, if we get to the second round, it would be an overachievement. But with the way things are looking right now, it's not going to happen. Championship is not this year. I think Danny knows that. I think he'll pull the trigger on a trade.
Hope so.
If there's something there, I hope we use the $20 million plus. I hope we use the exception. Players, I'm not sure we could get. I mean, I would love Towns. I know that they just put Russell and him together, so they're gonna let that play out for at least 1 or 2 more years.
No chance we're getting Towns. I wish, but no chance.
Maybe looking at Atlanta's big men, they just drafted that kid from USC in the first round, the first few picks, and they have Capella down there. We could try to get Vucevic or Aaron Gordon, but Aaron Gordon hasn't really developed into anything special lately. I don't really see the big man out there besides Miles Turner, really, that we could put a package together for. And if Miles Turner's on the table, I know we had the missed opportunity. This offseason with the Hayward thing. I'm not sure what the deal with that was, but if Danny picks up the phone.
Ryan, left. He's maxing out the voicemail.
This is part 2, man. It's Ryan.
Part 2, it's Ryan.
If the Miles
we
Turner
play all voicemails.
on
We
the
play all
table,
voicemails. What can I say?
I would put Marcus. I'd put a first round pick, maybe 2 first rounders, entice. It's make it or break.
First off, I'm gonna keep playing. So again, play all voicemails. Ryan's has said more words on this podcast than I have, but shout out to him for taking the effort to leave the voicemail. Karl-Anthony Towns, no chance we're getting him. The one name you mentioned, Vucevic, I'm all in for. Aaron Gordon, I'm all in for. I know he hasn't been much as of late. He's been injured, but I do think that he can grow with the Jays. He could be good. You talking about Miles Turner, the one thing you mentioned as missed opportunity, yeah, we all have to come to grips with that. If that trade wasn't going to happen without Gordon Hayward okaying it, and no one was going to pay him Charlotte money. So that Miles Turner missed opportunity was never even an opportunity at the end of the day. I just want to make that clear to everyone. Because it looks, and I'm not one to defend Danny Ainge to the wall here, but it looks bad for Danny Ainge, like he missed some sort of a sign-in trade, but it all came down to Hayward, and no team was willing to match what Charlotte was offering him. So just keep that in mind. That's it.
We can't allow this league to pass us by. We're not going to get any good first-round picks going forward. Our picks from those trades back in the day are all gone, to my knowledge, unless the Memphis pick is still up for grabs. But I think we got it in the lottery. The end of the lottery we got Neesmith with that pick, but if we didn't use that pick yet, throw that in there, and I'm totally fine with giving up Marcus now, but because
depends on the move,
what other big man's out there? And we're not just gonna waste away 2 or 3 seasons. We got to have Jalen be the dog in the team. He's gonna have to step up and take Marcus's role, and the core
Pritchard too. Just saying,
of Jalen, Jason, and Miles Turner. I mean, if I don't love it, I would love Karl-Anthony Towns. I would love Jared Allen, but at this point, it doesn't look like we're gonna get those. So, yeah, man, just hoping that Danny could pull something off. See ya.
All right, so Ryan with the 8-part voicemail. No, but real talk, guys. If you do want to leave a voicemail for next episode, it's 617-302-6363, and you can leave as many voicemails as you want. We play them all, unless I somehow mess with the board and accidentally delete one or whatever, which I know we have in the past. One, so I can't even say it happens all the time. But real talk, guys, if you do want to leave a voicemail, I'll play it just like that. Ryan got his 2 cents in, and now he's going to hear it on the show, so shout out to him. But overall, I think the focus there was on a big man, which is fine, but this team, that's not the only issue. And you said it yourself, Ryan, backup guard, wing depth. It's like if anything, and I know this sounds crazy, guys, because I'd love Vucevic, I'd love Aaron Gordon's, borderline big man. Like, they actually have playable big men. Tyson Thompson are their Tyson Thompson is better than their Jaylen Brown, Semi Ojeleye sort of drop off. You know what I mean? And then you throw in the fact that Robert Williams is this up-and-coming player. I'm not out on the big men they have, but I do think it's a hole in their team. So I'm okay with people focusing on that. But that's sort of where I come to because all those names you mentioned are, blowing the TPE all in one place. Now, if the player works out, it's not blowing it. But, and it's a big but, if you could use that TPE to bring in, 2 guys or, I don't think this would be possible, but 3 guys that can add depth to the guard, the wing position, all of a sudden you now have a more complete team than adding one piece to this team. So that's where I come out on it. I would love Vucevic. He's probably towards the top of my list. A guy that's been mentioned a lot now, and I know Eric on our website, GuyBostonSports.com, talked about Blake Griffin. I feel like I've seen a lot of responses kind of ragging on the idea of bringing in Blake Griffin. I don't see why you should have a problem with Blake Griffin. No, he's not what he once was. Yeah, no kidding. That's why he's available for trade, and he's better than any big man you have. So I'm in, that's the thing with all of these names too. In the post-game stream, if you guys listen to that or watch that, and you're in the chat, every name that gets brought up. Like, someone's like, why not go get Dario Saric? Most times I'd be like, because Dario Saric sucks. But guess what? This bench sucks. So any name you bring up, I'm probably going to say, yeah, might as well make the try and make an effort to get, because any name, really, any of these notable names or realistic names can help the bench. They're all better than Javonte Green, all better than Semi Ojeleye and Grant Williams as of right now. The only thing Grant Williams has going for him is showing flashes and being young. So, I'm not trying to trade him or anything yet. But if we could move Semi Ojeleye and bring in, a guy that's actually playable, sign me the hell up, And that shouldn't be shocking to anybody. But who knows? Whatever. But, all right, guys, we have reached the end of this episode. We have a couple things to talk about before we head out. You can use promo code UNL. It's the first letter of this podcast, kind of becoming like the acronym of this podcast, but UNL in the Guy Boston Sports store. That's GuyBostonSports.com/store. It'll take 10% off your order. If you're watching on YouTube, I've had a graphic of our brand new Teddy Celtic collection hoodie that's out right now. Mine's in the mail coming to me, but we literally only made like 10 of these. And I think 6 of them are gone. So might as well head over there, pick it up. It is a more expensive product, but these things cost a boatload to make. They're partnered with Champion, so big collab for us. Tie-dye hoodie. It's super, super premium, and that's what you get what you pay for, and it is a more expensive product. But 10% will knock off some of that change. And the last thing we have to talk about here, and I'm not giving you anything on this episode, but I am, as a matter of fact... If you're watching on YouTube, you see me referring to my gambling notebook here. I am 79-61 this year in NBA against the spread bets. I might be starting to include a little segment at the end where I give out free picks to you guys. I said might, because I don't want to jinx any of my picks or anything like that, but I am taking just about every single NBA game as of late, past couple of months, as of late. And, again, our win percentage is like 58%, which is up there with the best handicappers in the world. So let me know if you guys would be interested in that as a little exclusive on this podcast. But, yeah, other than that, we got nothing else to say. Hopefully the Celtics turn this around. I would love to say winnable stretch coming up, but, they've already pissed away like 3 of the games in their winnable stretch. So what do we say to that, I feel like the winnable stretch has already been tarnished a little bit. Let's just hope that they can bounce back and step it up and kind of get back. Because, say this, they're 13-13, right? If they go 8-2 in their next 10, all of a sudden you're looking at a 21-15 record, which is it's just miles ahead of where they are now. So let's hope for that. Can they do it? Anyone listening without watching, I just gave a huge shoulder shrug. So that's where we are with it. But guys, this has been episode 101 of Unleashed. Make sure to subscribe. If you're watching, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening anywhere you get this show, make sure to check us out and help us out. So until next episode, let's hope we're talking more positives in the next episode. I'll catch you guys later.